When people say, oh, I really like science, but TCM this, TCM is science. And it explains the body in a different way, but it explains it nevertheless.
How does acupuncture work?
So acupuncture moves blood and chi.
Yes, we're moving chi and blood around the body. I explain it like the meridians are like corridors in a house, and there's doors off the corridors, and you're using the doors are the acupuncture points, and you are opening or closing doors to move energy in different ways. Let's be honest though, that's not acupuncture.
No.
So dry needling is, and I think this is also where acupuncture gets in a little bit of trouble, because patients will come and they say, oh, I've tried acupuncture, but it's been dry needling from their physio.
Every acupuncturist is a dry needler, but not every dry needler is an acupuncturist. So acupuncturists, we are doctors in acupuncture, firstly. We went to uni for bloody ages. We studied, we can speak both languages. We should be fluent in Western medicine and in Chinese medicine, whereas we can see a bigger picture.
And then someone says, oh, I had acupuncture and then I had a lung collapse. And you find out later it wasn't actually acupuncture. It was someone giving dry needling, which is actually really disappointing for us, because we've, like you said, we've studied for a long time and it's a very, very hard craft to learn. Have you had any standout patients that you've just seen amazing transformation that you could share?
It was really traumatic and I just really took it upon myself.
I'm very excited for this episode. I always say I'm very excited for every episode, but I have one of my practitioners in today, Dr. Emilia, and we are going to dive in to look at what TCM really is, look at Emilia's journey in becoming a practitioner, and I've also taken it to the gram and put a question box up to see what questions some of you might have. So I'm very excited for this episode, like I said. Emilia, thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. I'm so looking forward to being here.
Yeah. Well, we've just left the clinic and then hightailed it over here for this recording.
I managed to squeeze in a really nice lunch.
Oh,
so,
that's nice. Yeah. That's so nice. Well, I thought to myself, I am always showcasing amazing practitioners all the time, or people on the podcast. And I'm like, why am I not actually bringing in my people that are so amazing? And we just worked out today, we were looking through the clinic books, and that you've been with me for nearly a year.
Yes.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yep.
But I would like for us to start off with your journey into TCM. So you didn't just wake up one day and become a TCM practitioner. I know that you have many skills, and I'd love to hear, and I'm sure the listener would like to hear a little bit more about, how you arrived at TCM. Were you doing something else before? And just that journey for you.
All right. So when I first decided that I wanted to be a TCM practitioner, I had just had my first boy, little Rafa, who's not so little anymore. And he was quite a sickly kid and nothing really worked. And then I remembered my journey in TCM and I thought, this is something I'm going to explore. And so that's when it sort of bling, like light bulb moment. And I'm like, I'm going to do this for my kids.
So you studied whilst as a new mum?
Yes, I studied whilst I was pregnant with my second as well.
Oh my gosh.
So that was interesting. But before that, I was a historian and I studied and specialized in oral history at La Trobe. And I did so because I wanted to stay in the country and I needed a visa for it. And science was just too many hours.
Right.
But yeah, I loved it. But there was just no path in it for me. Then I studied science for a couple of years and I was not happy with the way science goes about science. Like, I love science and how cells work and the intricate workings and relationships between atoms and how things work in the body. But when it came to the crunch of how, business and money goes hand in hand with science, it was a bit like, it's not for me. And so I had a crisis, stopped everything, met my now husband, got pregnant, had my boy, and I think it was just kind of like a natural segue to do TCM, because my big thing when people say, oh, I really like science, but TCM this, I'm like, TCM is science, and it explains the body in a different way, but it explains it nevertheless. And if we actually boil down what science is, TCM is science.
Right, totally. I actually love that. I had a similar experience as well. I studied health sciences, got to the end of it, and I was like, what the heck am I going to do with this? I mainly specialised in biosciences, so little, similar. And there was just so many unanswered questions for me. I'm like, why does no one seem to have these questions that I have? Am I really that much of a unicorn? But it's just, it comes with accepting and learning who we are as people as well. But my story is actually hilarious. I didn't realise I was applying for Chinese herbal medicine. I thought I was applying for Western herbal medicine, so naturopathy.
So you went there, root shock.
The letter of acceptance came in the mail, and I'm like, Chinese herbal medicine. Okay, looks like this is what we're doing then. And that's how. So I always joke that it chose me. I didn't actually choose it.
Yeah.
But my question to you was, and I love that you say TCM is science, because it all actually everything is explainable, right? But going from a conventional science training to TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, for everyone that's going, what's TCM? How was that? Because I personally found I had to kind of like unlearn so many things that I'd already learned.
Well, maybe because I was pregnant and had a young child. Don't remember much. But I think, it would have been different. But what really grabbed me was how everything can be explained.
Yes, agreed.
Like, I'm like, why people who have UTIs can't sleep?
Right.
Why women, they have dementia, can't sleep? Like, why does these symptoms seem to go hand in hand? And something that Western medicine is like, it is what it is. In Chinese medicine, we can explain it. So I think that was my hook. And once, you hook me, I'm like, that's it. I'm splash, backflip. No, what is it? Backstroke. Yeah.
You're in. My hook was that the spleen and stomach, which I guess we liken to the gut in a conventional way that we look at things, was that it was the pivot of health. It made so much sense to me. Now, we say this now, and we all talk about the gut being the pivot of health. But 25 years ago, it wasn't. We didn't talk about the gut like we talk
Have more
it now.
antibiotics, please.
Yeah, right, exactly. So that's what my hook was. I was very spleen stomach school. Like, I was like, that makes so much sense. That it just logically, I was hooked by that. So it's interesting how we have our different reasons that we're like, I love this.
Yeah.
Now that you're a practitioner, you're seeing a variety, and you've had a pleasure of seeing a variety of different patients.
Yeah.
What's a highlight, or what's your favourite thing to treat, I guess, is probably, because I know personally, we've had this conversation, I don't treat children. It's just a hard no. I have no desire to, and I said this to you one day, and you're like, I love treating children.
Yeah.
So what is it that you love treating?
So I do love treating children, and I love...
sorry to cut you off, but that's kind of why you got into it.
Exactly,
Back to that.
yes.
That's what I was
But also
getting
in a really selfish way, children are so much quicker than adults.
To respond?
Yeah, they respond quite quickly. And so you're like, my job is good. My job
I'm a
is
rock
fun,
star.
and it's happening. With adults, it takes a little bit longer. You're just like, you're going to have to wait 6 weeks to start seeing any good changes.
Right.
Let's talk about this. But children are like, I've got a sore ear, now there's no sore ear. So it's quite immediate. It's very rewarding. There are tricks, though, to work with children. I do work with the element of the child. So there's like a school in TCM where there's 5 elements, and then, the child belongs to one of the elements.
So like water,
Yeah,
earth,
water,
fire.
earth, fire. Yeah. And so with like each personality is an elemental personality. So you would never treat a water child like you would treat a wood child,
Right.
for example.
Yeah.
And they will never sort of engage with you in a similar way. Like the woods are always pushing, and that's my love, because I guess I'm a wood too. But they push like in this really legal way that if you go, hey, they're like, okay, I've met a limit, and they really respond. Waters, like water, they just flow over everything. And I really like finding out what each kid is and being like, yes, I'm going to make you shine, baby. I really like that.
I love that. I think also it makes you look like you really like have this intel that they can't figure out why you know things about them.
Yes.
We have the ability to look at someone's tongue and feel their pulse and know things. I think people are very intrigued by that.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to be able to use so many different markers and things to diagnose somebody. The other thing I also love about TCM, and I assume that you'll agree, is sometimes the unexplainable, we can just treat it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, because you just feel the pulse and you're like, this is.
I had
it
a
is where
patient
it
once
is.
with burning armpits, and she's like, I don't know. And not really, she was pretty healthy, but she had burning armpits. And I'm like, I don't know why your armpits are burning, but I know how to treat it. So how about I just treat and clear heat from that channel? And then she was like, it was magic. Just like that.
There you go.
So kids are your favourite?
Kids are my favorite and followed closely by very pregnant women.
Yes.
I hated being pregnant. It was just 2 horrendous pregnancies, and just the comfort that TCM brings when you're like, I've got an elbow in my spleen. And, be able to just bring them a bit of comfort is really nice.
I think that is really nice. I also love the fact that you like to treat the things that I don't like to treat.
Yeah,
so,
we complement
I
each
love
other.
getting patients pregnant. I love taking them on their fertility journey. But once they're pregnant, it's like, there you go.
Yeah.
So that works really well. What about, I know that you have more recently, probably because I keep telling all the patients to send their children to you, we've had some conversations about the role or the where we can see a parent and the relationship with the parent and child being part of the presentation of the child. Can we talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's very interesting. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. We are a product of our environment, but I think it's important for parents to also piece together and hear that perhaps some of the responses children are having are actually a result of the environment and the relationship that they have with the mother especially, would you say?
Yeah. Well, it is the whole family. And this is something that I think the Latino in me is really good at. And so when basically like 101 pediatrics is you're not treating just the people in the room, you're treating the whole family. Mm-hmm. And so, Latinos, busybodies, like you look fat, you do this, And so I'll bring it all in, and I sometimes I might be a bit like harsh saying things, but I'm able to say things to the parents that maybe another practitioner wouldn't say. But basically, Pediatrics 101 is your child is trying to get your chi. So when a kid is sick constantly, because obviously kids are going to get sick, cold and flus are normal, are important parts of, the immune system developing in your child. Your child is healthy because he's getting sick.
Right.
And that's fine. But once we start seeing more pathologies, that's when you go, okay, this child is looking for the chi of the parent. And especially when we go into behavioral issues. And so what I want that parent to leave that first consult with is the knowledge that the kid is needing their energy to be well.
Right.
And so that, not only means like go and buy the medicine or whatever. It means like I need quality time, I need attention, I need touch. Whatever the love language of the child is, that child needs that.
I think it's important to talk about that because I think we disconnect ourselves, especially when we've got unwell children in our care. We would never, and of course, we always want to give everything that we can, but maybe we're not giving it in the right way.
Yes. And that's when the parent to parent has to engage and has to also take responsibility of what their love language is, how was the relationship with their parents. Like you need to heal a lot of your grievances with your own parents to be able to parent successfully.
Yeah, it's so true. Are there things that you don't love treating, Emilia?
Oh, skin stuff. Yeah.
Anything skin? You're good at treating acne.
Oh, yes. Acne, yes. Like,
Acne? But what, you mean like psoriasis and eczema and those sorts of things?
yeah, like CP things.
Weepy. See, I love that.
Yeah, or like patterns. Oh,
Yeah.
you know, what's that phobia of patterns?
Yeah.
I have it. So like I like break out in the goosebumps and like, ooh, it looks all the same. How can it look all the same?
Well, it's good. It's good to know where our strengths lie.
Yeah.
And I also think that what we are good at, we generally love doing. And I think it's important that we actually stick to doing that.
Yeah.
I think we can become very good at doing one or two things or specialising with one or two things and just doing it really well.
Yeah.
But it also means you get to live your best life because you're not stressed out or worried or just not enjoying what you're doing as a practitioner.
Exactly.
So important. I think that's important. And I think it's also being part of a team that you feel like that you're supported in.
Well, that is the big thing here. Like I mentioned to you, when I started working at Pagoda Tree, I had this big revelation. I was like, first, if all my other bosses don't treat me like Nat treats me, I don't want it. To which then translated, if my husband doesn't treat me like Nat treats me, I don't want it. To then going, if I don't treat myself like Nat treats me, I don't want it. Like, I want to lead people to treat me like you treat me.
Oh, that's nice.
And you know, it's really nice to have something like that in your life.
Oh,
and to
thank
have
you. I didn't pay her to say this.
She pays me though. She pays me.
I think it's really important, team ethic. I'm going to have each of the team on the podcast at some point in time. But I think we spend so much time at a workplace. And I think everyone plays an integral role in a practice or a clinic or any workplace. And I can't think of anything worse than people not feeling. And there's been times that I know that, you know, there's ebbs and flows in any business that I would say probably staff weren't entirely happy, and it all comes back to me at the end of the day, course correcting and fixing things. And very often when that stuff's going on, it's personal. It's not actually the team. But I do think it's really important that, especially as practitioners, because we're holding space for so many people all the time, that we are happy in what we're doing and we feel supported as well. So, you know, I could not do reception at work. We all joke about it. I'm horrendous at reception. I get so flustered and confused, but our receptionists do an amazing job. Just like I'm horrendous at treating children. That's why, you know. So I think it's so nice to find where those sweet spots are and create a team we were just talking about having the whole team on a podcast, how fun that would be.
That would be awesome. And the thing is, and because I think you choose from a place of abundance. Everyone comes from a place of abundance. We all come, you know, wanting to give our best and to treat each other with respect. And, you know, for like a big gaggle of women, we all get along really well. Yeah. And I don't know, that's something that you don't find
I've never
often.
thought about that, actually. We do get along really well. Have you had any standout patients where they've either been, actually, firstly, let me ask, have you had any standout patients that you've just seen amazing transformation that you could share? I probably should have prepared
actually,
you for this
one
question.
of my big standout patients was a lady that kept on having recurring miscarriages. And I was like, I had a miscarriage in the past. It was really traumatic. And I just really took it upon myself. And I was like, this lady's going to stay pregnant. And, you know, studied, contacted mentors, and then, you know, did all the treatment. And she went over the amount of weeks that she's never been pregnant before. And it has stuck with me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm good at this. I love it. Like, I brought so much joy to someone's life.
Yeah.
And I changed someone's life. And that's just something that, I don't know, makes me teary.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, we do get to, it is very rewarding. We're very lucky. Do you have any standout patients that have been hilarious? I only say this because I once had a patient say to me and she was a female and identified as a female, biologically was a female. But she told me that her scrotum really hurt, and she meant her sacrum. And I will never forget it. And she had no idea. I think she, in her mind, thought that she said sacrum, but she said to me, oh, my scrotum has been giving me so much pain. And I had to sit there and not laugh because you can't laugh. Have you had any funny ones?
Well,
like that?
it wasn't them, it was me because of my accent. I had this erectile dysfunction patient, and I said, now I'm going to take your pulse. And he thought I said I was going to take his balls. So that was awkward. And I was like, oh, no, not your balls. Like, but I think I might have just acted a little bit too disgusted as well.
That's so funny. I think we're so lucky because we do get to have we go on a journey with each of our patients.
Yeah.
You know, we get to be part of the process and the ride, and seeing someone improve their health is super rewarding as well. Now, I asked on Instagram if people had some questions about Chinese medicine, because I think that people are very confused. They're a little bit polarized by it. It's not as underground as it used to be. When I first started, people were like, what is that? Like, I don't even know what that means. But I do think it's nice to hear what people are asking. So I'm going to just open that up and let's have some of these. Let's fire some of these off. What I felt was interesting was there was a lot of people asking personal questions which we can't answer. But let me find something. Okay. How do you find a great Chinese medicine practitioner? What are things to look for, in your opinion?
Well, for me, healing is not led by the practitioner, it's led by the person, the patient, the person seeking to heal. And so for me, it's not this person needs to have gone to this uni or know this or be a special. No, that person needs to be fun. You need to have fun with them. You need to trust them. If you don't trust the person that's leading you, the way I see healing is like you have a blindfold and you probably have a very sore leg, and this person's guiding you through a terrain that you've never been before. And healing is not linear. So there's gonna be troughs and there's gonna be peaks, and you need to have fun. It's kind of like marrying someone.
Yeah.
So you need to have fun. You need to talk about good things with them. Try not to make them laugh too much. I've had people like needles in their head and they're like, please don't make me laugh. But you need to have a good time with them because it is a journey.
Be on the same page as well,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think that the practitioner, what they need to be able to do is always enroll the patient in the process.
Because I'm not going to heal you.
No,
You're going to
that's
heal
right.
yourself.
That's
I'm just like walking you through it.
Yes. Someone else asked, how does acupuncture help with stress?
Well, from the biomedical point of view, from the Chinese medicine
Well,
point
what we
of
should
view.
maybe answer, before we answer that, let's actually answer this question. How does acupuncture work?
So acupuncture moves blood and chi.
Right?
Yeah.
I also, from a scientific perspective, there's one acupuncture point that's been studied, stomach 36.
Yeah.
That's the only acupuncture point that's ever been studied. I don't know that there's much benefit.
Is that the MRI study that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to explain that?
So how it
I think what
stimulates certain areas of the brain.
Yes. So they were able to confirm that it communicated with the vagus nerve.
Yeah.
So if you're stimulating or you're speaking to the vagus nerve, you can literally calm everything down, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I always say to patients, in terms of how acupuncture works, yes, we're moving chi and blood around the body. I explain it like the meridians are like corridors in a house, and there's doors off the corridors, and you're using the doors are the acupuncture points, and you are opening or closing doors to move energy in different ways. But I think the other thing that we can agree that it definitely is proven to do is pain relief, where people are using dry needling. They're just sticking it where it hurts.
Exactly.
Let's be honest, though. That's not acupuncture.
No. Why?
Right?
Yeah.
So dry needling is, and I think this is also where acupuncture gets in a little bit of trouble, because patients will come and they say, oh, I've tried acupuncture, but it's been dry needling from their physio. Do you want to explain the difference between what a physio does and what we do?
So it's massive, because I read somewhere that, every acupuncturist is a dry needler, but not every dry needler is an acupuncturist. So acupuncturists, we are doctors in acupuncture, firstly. We went to uni for bloody ages. We studied, we can speak both languages. We should be fluent in Western medicine and in Chinese medicine. We understand the intricate inner workings of the body and how, the heart channel talks to the small intestine, why, there's heat that communicates from one side to the other. I could treat your sore neck from your arm or from your leg because I see the connection in the whole body. A dry needler just finds an ashy point, which is a Chinese medicine concept. Well, not a concept, it's a part of our body. Yeah. But it'll just stick the needle where it hurts. So not necessarily targeting the right channel that is affected, not necessarily shifting the amount of blood that you want to shift. So it's kind of like dry needlers are more working in the dark, whereas we can see a bigger picture.
I think the other problem with that is also, this is where you often hear of injury happening when someone's dry needled and they end up with a pneumothorax, especially because they've penetrated too deep. And then someone says, I had acupuncture and then I had a lung collapse. And you find out later it wasn't actually acupuncture, it was someone giving dry needling, which is actually really disappointing for us because we've, like you said, we've studied for a long time and it's a very, very hard craft to learn, but can have a really amazing impact on the body. So, it's good to establish the difference between the two, I think.
Yeah. And I find it's really tricky because sometimes I see a lot of physios that promote dry needling as like the scientific way as opposed to acupuncture. And it's like, no, baby. No, you're doing what we do. You're just not doing it well enough.
Well, I haven't had the same training, I guess, either. And it doesn't take long to learn dry needling, whereas it takes a very long time to understand all the meridians. So each meridian comes from an organ and either goes down the arm or down the leg, except there's some extras, but let's not confuse anyone.
And it's so dramatic. It's like a Latino soap opera, like the body in Chinese medicine. I love it. It's like he's talking to her and her's talking to him and the gallbladder is really the wife and the liver does nothing. I love it.
Right, exactly. So I think it's important to understand that, yes, the meridians are connected to the organs and we use points along the meridians to change many things in the body.
But also what I really like to for patients, when I'm talking to patients about their body, is like your organs are not just a piece of flesh. Your organs have emotions and they have a flavor and they have a personality. And so even like when you look at things like mental illness, you can't separate it. Like you can't, separate your emotion of that organ from the actual function of that organ.
And I think we love this about Chinese medicine because we do treat the emotion side of things as part of what we do.
Yeah, because you're treating the organ. Yeah.
Because you can't separate
it.
Yeah,
my big aha moment, oh my God, thank you, Kim McLaren, best teacher in the world. When she said something, it was something like, the spleen and stomach not only digest your food, but they digest your impressions and what media you consume. And I was like, oh, that's why we say we consume media. And like, it's just so many layers that, Western medicine just sees as a physiological lump of flesh. And that's why I think like acupuncture is so good, and especially treating children, because children are like emotional little balls
they really
running around.
It's very true. So then back to the question, how can acupuncture treat stress? I think it's one of the best things it does.
Yeah.
You also can't go anywhere whilst you're having acupuncture. It's like forced rest.
Yeah.
You
have
can't
to
run a
sit
marathon
there with your thoughts. And no, but the thing is, actually, I was thinking this the other day. I do a lot of thinking, I do a lot of reading. And I was thinking, how much is the placebo effect of the person laying on that bed and having to rest on purpose?
Right.
But actually, if you think about it, in the West, we tend to have really negative thought patterns. And so I think that if you just tied a person to a bed without the needles and left them there for half an hour, that person would be not in a good place.
Right.
So I think the needles are making that person not only be comfortably sitting in that bed, but they're moving things and they're digesting things in a way that it makes that person sit there comfortably with their thoughts.
I often put, if a patient has wearable, whether it's an Oura Ring, a Fitbit, their watch, I ask them to have a look at it at the end to see what their heart rate's done. And every time it drops. At some point during the acupuncture session, it drops down. So I think that's a sure sign that your nervous system is actually being taken offline at some point and your body is leaning in to the rest. So I guess to answer this person's question, we are regulating the nervous system, aren't we?
Yes. And I've got my phone, it's like a collection of tongues and of I don't have one personally, so I don't know how to explain it. I might sound like I just stepped off 1770 boat in, I don't know, but the oxygen reading in their watches, and it's all like 99, 100, look what happened after acupuncture.
Yes.
So I have tongues and
Tongues.
like little screenshots.
So let's quickly talk about tongues, because that was actually the next question. When we're looking at the tongue to diagnose in a 101, what are we looking at?
So we're looking at the shape of the tongue, the color of the tongue, whether it has coating or not. I'm always trying to tell people, please don't shave your coating because your coating tells us a lot, whether it's white, whether it's yellow, what color is it viscous, is it soggy, is it dry? Like your tongue tells us everything. I judge tongues.
Yes, we
like
do.
even in movies, I'm like,
me too. Or someone's got a picture on Instagram and they've got their tongue out. I'm always
Yeah.
like, just put that back.
And don't you find that models have a lot of damp?
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
oh my God, how's that
Yes.
possible?
Can I also say, or maybe you can tell us actually, what should a tongue look like?
So a tongue should be nice and pink, not too dark, not too light.
Goldilocks.
Yeah, it should have like a nice healthy coat all throughout. It should have no gaps, deformities,
No
scalloping,
creases.
no creases, no deep cracks, no cracks at all.
I bet you everyone now is looking in the mirror.
Yeah, like, what's happening with my tongue? Oh, my tongue is so bad. Like if I judge tongues, my one is the one that I judge the
That's
first.
funny. And then also in the same vein then, maybe explain when we're feeling the pulse.
All right.
We're not just
I
feeling
love
for
the
heart
pulse.
rate.
No, we're not just feeling
We're
for
actually
heart
not
rate.
really feeling for heart
There
rate.
really are 6 positions in the school that I also study, and I want to really specialize in, which is the Shanhan Lun School of Chinese Med. There's like technically like 9 positions because you're counting the in-betweens. But each position tells us something about yourself. And then there's the blood side, which is the left-hand side because the eye reconnects directly to the blood. I love that. And then there's the chi side, which is where we have your digestion and your sort of metabolism. And so each position, the top one will tell us about your upper body. Sometimes I'm like, I can't even read what's happening. I just feel tightness. And I'm like, you either have anxiety or really tight shoulders or both, but there's something going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Then the middle one is your middle half of your body, where on the blood side, we've got your liver and your gallbladder. And then on your chi side, we have your digestive system, your stomach and your spleen. Then at the bottom, we've got your kidneys. You've got your kidney yang and your kidney yin. And, where there's thrush or whatever. The other day, I was feeling someone's pulse. And I was like, do you have discharge or itching or thrush? And she's like, no. And I'm like, there's itching. Like, there's itching. And she's like, oh, actually, yeah, I have a really itchy hemorrhoid. And I'm like, I knew it. Like,
You just
felt
knew.
it. Yeah.
You knew.
Yeah.
I think it's so clever how we are able to do that. One more question, because I know this widely fascinates people as well. The TCM body clock.
The best.
The best. Because the question was, I'm waking at 3 a.m. Why? But I think we need to explain the body clock first. Do you want to go ahead and explain?
So each organ, so the organs in Chinese medicine, there's many ways to view the organs, but in the sort of 12 meridian sort of scenario, you got couples. And so each couple has like prime time. And also, like, I would really like to say to people that this prime time is really important when you're eating. And so I'll explain briefly why they're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but the eating I also want to talk about. So your body is basically like a clock. And so if you're thinking about it, it's like a circadian rhythm sort of scenario. And so we've got your digestive system is from like 7 till 11, and then you go into, I don't know where you go into, small intestine and bladder, and then heart. And the last bit is your detoxing. So your gallbladder and your liver, which then starts your lungs. So when you have problems with your detoxing, you're going to be starting to wake up because then it's a clock and it's a cycle, and so the clock ends.
Right.
So the clock ends when the liver time finishes.
Yes. So the liver time is 1 till 3.
And so you will be waking up because you had too much alcohol, a heavy meal. You don't have enough liver blood. But the main reason why is also, if you have a lot of stress, you have to have like a little bit of extra energy to push that last breath from that liver 14 that you have in your rib cage up to your lung, which is the first sort of time in your body clock. And that's why a lot of people die at 3 o'clock in the morning. When I found that out, I was like, oh my God, mind blown.
Right.
Because
it moves in from 3 o'clock
Yeah.
to 5 o'clock, it moves into lung time.
Yeah. And so you take your last breath at like 3, and the body's like, you know what, game's up. I don't have enough energy to start the new cycle in your lung.
Yeah.
And so if you have anything, and a lot of the times your liver is a bit of a bully and invades your lungs. And so there can be, like in asthma, you start seeing these.
Well, you often see coughing at 3 to 5.
Exactly. And especially because we do not sleep in rooms that are warm enough in Australia. Come on. Like, put your thermostats up. There's all these studies, warmth is good.
Yes.
Being warm is good.
Well, that's a very TCM thing as well, right?
Please. Socks.
Socks.
Wear a skivvy
Tuck your
to
top
bed.
in.
Yeah, like
Wear a
keep warm.
skivvy to bed. So the prime time of each organ, you said prime time. Each organ basically has a 2-hour window where it is in its
peak.
Its peak, right?
And so, yes.
But the other thing for the liver is also the emotions that are attached to each organ. So when someone's got a lot of anger,
they and frustration.
Will wake. You said yes.
And what we have in this society is anger and frustration. This whole world is designed for us to be frustrated. Like I was driving to work this morning, and it was like I was the only person on the road, but still just stopping at the lights. It's an exercise in like, oh, my life's not flowing.
Right.
And so we just go to bed and we're pissed because we're like always in queues, and like even to go out and eat in Melbourne, we have to wait. Like there's
We're frustrated, perpetually frustrated.
Yeah, that's why walking in nature is so good.
Yes.
Unless you're Teddy Roosevelt and can't even handle a tree in front of you, chop it down. Don't do that. I don't advise that.
Well, I think that this probably has sparked lots of questions for people, and if they do have questions, then we're always happy to answer them. But thank you so much for all the things that you do for our patients at the clinic.
No, I love it. My pleasure.
Yes, and thank you for sitting here and chatting with me. I know that when I first asked each of the practitioners, they were like, what? Like, I need to showcase the excellence that we have in the clinic. So thank you so much for everything that you do, and thank you for making the time to come and chat.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Amazing. Hey there, it's Nat Kringudis, host of the Wellness Collective podcast. I know how important it is to have a safe space for women's health, and that's why we created NK the Membership, an online sanctuary where you can access expert guidance and support right from home. Get early access to monthly masterclasses, unlimited access to our entire catalogue, and practical resources to achieve hormone harmony. Plus, enjoy a 20% discount on supplements and join my monthly live Q&A sessions. Join our community of like-minded women and wellness experts to revolutionise your health one topic at a time. Visit our website and sign up now. It's legit Netflix for hormones.